Welcome to another Tech Help video brought to you by AccessLearningZone.com. I'm your instructor, Richard Rost. Today we're going to talk about multiple techniques for storing multiple addresses for a customer or multiple customers in your Microsoft Access database. We're going to talk about a couple of different techniques. Which one is best for you? Well, that all depends on your business. Okay, here's a question that recently came in from Jared from Wilton, Connecticut, one of my gold members. But I get questions like this all the time, and they're constantly coming up in the forums. In fact, there's a really good one right now in the forums. Here's a pretty good one from Donald. And you can see the kind of conversations that we sometimes have in the forums. They go on for a bit. But, and I'll put a link to that one down below. The questions usually go something like this. I run a small store in a small town, and I have some customers who want things sent to their home or their office or even sometimes their summer homes. How do you go about easily tracking multiple, and I'm talking sometimes 6 or 7 addresses per customer? Then, to make it even more difficult, sometimes I have multiple family members in my system separately. They have the same address, but now I'm sending multiple copies of my flyers to them, and it's wasting money. So how do I handle this? And yeah, sometimes you will have different people that share an address and you don't want to send things to them separately. But me, for example, I had a case where I had several different businesses registered that I ran. I had the PC business, then I had a consulting business, then I had a training business, and they're all separate businesses, but they had the same address. And so I would sometimes get, those free flyers. The computer companies were always sending them out in the 90s, and they would jam my PO box full with multiple copies of the same thing that I'm sure this company was wasting money on. So having shared addresses in the system sometimes can be helpful. So let's talk about the different things that might come up, the different scenarios that you might have with people and addresses, and how you might want to store those in your database. And again, I'm going to make sure everyone knows up front, this is all based on how it's best for your business. I'm going to show you multiple techniques. There is no one right technique. Okay, you pick the one that works best for you and go with that. In fact, in my beginner classes, I only show the simple techniques. And then as we get a lot more advanced, we'll talk about different ways that you can store addresses. But there's no one right way. All right, so the basic, most simple thing you might have is one person, one address. This is what I teach in my beginner level 1 class, right? You just got a customer table. You store the address in there. I like to break it up into multiple fields, right? Address, city, state, zip, country. I've dealt with businesses where they need to have even more granularity than that. They've got address broken up into the number, the street name, and then the type, like street, drive, avenue, that kind of. So again, it's all completely based on your business. This is what I think works for most people. And a single address might work for, 9 out of 10 companies out there. Moving beyond that, you've got one person. And I say up to 3 addresses. 3 is kind of like my rule of thumb. It's not a set limit. And in fact, personally, I stick to no more than 2, but I'll allow 3. That's what I tell people in my beginner classes. Because you might have bill to and ship to. All right, that's the most common thing. Bill me at this address, ship everything to this address. Okay, and that'll get you by. If you got 2 addresses in there in the customer table, not a big deal. You got bill to address, bill to city, bill to state, right? Ship to address, and so on. Honestly, this is what I have in my database, because when I first started my current company, right, Computer Learning Zone, I used to ship a lot of CDs. So I had the billing address, which is what the credit card was billed to, and then I had the shipping address where the CDs go to. Now, I don't need that ship to address anymore because I don't ship products anymore, right? It's all online now, so I could get rid of it, but it's still in my database, and it's not hurting anything. And again, this will work for a lot of businesses just fine. But now, when you start talking about more than 3 addresses, all right, you might have home address, office address, ship to address, a PO box, okay? Or like Jared said, he's got customers with 6 or 7 addresses in the system. Here's my summer home, that kind of stuff. All right, now it's time to break those addresses off and put them in a separate table with a one-to-many relationship. You're going to have your customer table, okay? Then you're going to make an address table. And the address T will have all the address information in it, plus you'll add the customer ID, so you know which customer belongs to that address. Then you can make a subform right? And you can say, okay, here's all the addresses for this particular customer. And again, this is great. This will work for a lot of different businesses. You can put an address type in there, and I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to walk through building these in a minute. And you could put an address type in there. What is it? Is it the bill to? Is it the ship to? You could put dates in there, like when is it valid from and to, right? There's lots of different options. Anything related to the address would go in the address table, and you'd find out what customer it is by linking back to the customer T. Now, here's where it starts to get tricky, okay? It's when you have multiple people with different addresses, but some of those addresses might be shared. And you want to say, okay, if that address is already in the database, I want to use it. Okay, because of the situation, like, for example, where Jared mentioned, where he's got 4 or 5 customers. They're all separate customers in his database, but they all share the same address, multiple family members, let's say. Okay, and you want to know that, okay, this address is already in there. It makes it easier to do data entry, too, especially in a small area, because if you just start typing in the address and, oh, it's already in the list. You just pick it from a combo box. All right, or it's easier to search from. So this is an option for some businesses. And again, this is the most advanced option, and I am going to walk you through building this, but you'll need a many-to-many relationship with 3 tables. You'll have a customer table. You'll have an address table, and all that's in the address table is that address, right? Address, city, state, that's it. It's got its own ID. Then you'll have a junction table to link the 2 together. This customer with this address, right? So an address can have multiple customers at it, and a customer can have multiple addresses, and it can go back and forth, right? So you got our guy here who's got his different 4 addresses, but his wife's also in the system, and she's got the same home address and her separate office address. Okay? So why would you want to do this? Well, shared address utilization, it eliminates redundancy, makes it easier to find addresses, cuts down on mailing costs, like I mentioned earlier. It's easier to track historical address data, whether you use a one-to-many or a many-to-many. Okay, that works great. Flexibility for different address types, like we talked about. Error reduction in data entry. The address is already in the system. You just pick it from a list. Okay, now, good news and bad news. Good news is this is an expert level class, meaning it's not a developer level class. We can do all of this with 0 programming. Okay, but the bad news is it is an expert level class. The first couple techniques I'm going to show you are beginners. Okay, but you're going to need to know relationships, specifically one-to-many and many-to-many relationships, which are kind of difficult. So we got a bunch of prerequisites I want you to watch first before you try tackling the more advanced methods I'm going to show you in this address video series. So we'll start off with the basics. If you haven't watched my blank template video, go watch this first. That's where I show you how I build my simple database, customer form, main menu, all that stuff, and all my preferences. Of course, if you have the time and you haven't watched my Access Beginner 1 class and you need to learn the basics, go watch that first too. That's absolutely free. It's on my website. It's on my YouTube channel. It's 4 hours long. Teaches you everything you need to know to get started. Make sure you have a good working knowledge of the different types of relationships. This is an important video. Go watch this one. You should know how to make a form with a subform. We're going to be using subforms to store the addresses in a subform on the customer form. Now here's the tricky one, many-to-many relationships. This one trips up a lot of people. Go watch this video first. The example that I give in this one is customers with courses, enrolling people in courses, right? Because a customer could have multiple courses, and a course could have multiple customers in it or students in it, right? But this applies to lots of different things. Email addresses, phone numbers, you name it. There's lots of reasons why you'd want to have many-to-many relationships, and they are the trickiest one to implement. And since they are so tricky and they do throw a lot of people for a loop, I'm going to have, this is another good example of when you want a many-to-many relationship, and I'm probably going to make many more many-to-many relationships, right? Many to many relationships. Because it's a tricky concept, and I know I cover it in my full course like 3 or 4 different times. And you can never have too many to many videos. But the good news is, though, once you finally get it, once that light bulb turns on, you got it. Like I got it, years ago, so I'm trying to help you guys get it. All right, later on, when we do get to the many-to-many relationship, this is going to be a couple videos from now, make sure you do understand how to make relational combo boxes. That's where you can pick a value from a list from another table. And make sure you know how to use a list items edit format so you can edit that list or add items to it. We're going to do this one. We're going to add a new item to our many-to-many address table. This is a nice, easy way to add an item to a list without having to use programming. Because in the old days, before they had this, we had to use the not in list event, which was a really pain in the butt. I still use it for a lot of things, but this is much easier for simple addition or modifying a list. All right, so let's get to the database. This is my Tech Help free template. This is a free database you can download off my website if you want to. And in this, my simple list of simple databases. Well, it's not that simple. It's pretty simple. It's a teaching database. It's a jump-off starting point for you to build your own database. All right, but here on the customer form, we've got one address. And in the customer table, there's one address. And if you want to learn how to build this, go watch those videos I gave you earlier because I show you how to build this. So let's do the next simplest option. I'm not gonna waste the time going over doing two addresses in the customer table, right? You get that. That's how you do that, right? You just come in here and you just take this, right? And you copy these fields, and now you make it bill to address, right? Bill to city, and then ship to address. That's simple. All right, so what we're gonna start with is this one. All right, one person, multiple addresses, more than 3. So we're gonna make a separate table to store the address information. All right, so leave the addresses that you might have in here. All right, if you have data in your tables already, don't just delete these fields because you'll lose all that data. Okay, you want to at least be able to copy it over to the new thing. So let's create a table. Let's close this one. Right, create table design. We'll need an address ID. That's our auto number. Now, in a one-to-many solution like this is going to be, each address can only belong to one customer. All right, we're not to the point yet where we're sharing addresses. That'll come later. So for now, this particular address will belong to one and only one customer. So a customer ID will go next. That's our foreign key, so it's just a number. Okay, and then the address fields. And I'm just going to borrow them from the other table. Where's the customer table? Right-click, design, and we'll just borrow those fields. No reason to type all these in again, right? Address, city, state, zip, country, copy, Control-C, and then we'll just paste them here. There you go. Now, any other information that you want to put in here about this address, you can. And we're going to add some more stuff to it in a bit in future videos here. But for now, let's just save this as my address table, address T. Primary key, yup, right there. Okay. So now we got an address T. Then we can link it back to our customer based on the customer ID. Now we'll need a form to be able to edit these addresses. And so I'm going to borrow the continuous form that I've got here. So I'm going to copy and paste that. We'll call this the address F, my address form. All right, right click, design view. And this is for my basic template, right? And I am going to, let's get rid of these boxes here and let's bind this form to the record source address T. All right. Now I can go up to the add existing fields and grab these guys. Or if you want to, you can copy them off the customer form, whichever way works for you. In fact, I think I'm going to copy them off the customer form. As long as they have the same name, that's fine. And I don't need the address ID, and I really don't need the customer ID on here either. I'll explain why in just a minute. Let's go to the customer form, and let's just borrow these, right? Design. They got the same names. Why not? Copy. Come over here. Click. Paste. Paste them right in there. Now, I kind of want this to look more like a tabular, like a spreadsheet kind of thing, so I'm going to get rid of these labels. I'm going to slide address over here. We're going to put city next to it, and then state, and then zip, and then country. Country doesn't have to be quite that big. In fact, for U.S. customers, or whatever country you're in, I always leave it blank. We'll do that. We'll do this. We'll just adjust these labels, and I'm going to do it the cheap way. Here's my cheap way. I just put an address, one label across the top. Do address. Whoops, I hit my caps lock accidentally. Come here. Come back here. Where'd you go? Oh, man. I accidentally deleted it. All right, address. I have my caps lock on. Come on. Address. Space. All the way over to here. City. It's easier than making multiple labels. That's the lazy method. Okay. We got one label across the top. There's that. Let's save it. Close it. Open it back up again. All right, now by itself, it's kind of useless, but we need to make this a subform in our customer form. And when we do that, it'll maintain that relationship automatically. So let's come into here, design view. Now, just for the purposes of class, I'm going to get rid of this stuff. We don't need it. Goodbye. Okay, obviously don't delete stuff off of your form. All right, so I'm going to take my address form, click and drag, and drop it over here. There it is. I'm going to get rid of that address F. And we're going to make this nice and big so it fills up as much space as we need it to. That. Save it, close it, open it, and there we go. Now I can put as many addresses in here as I want for each of these customers. And you can just copy them off of here if you want to, right? Copy, paste. You can just grab that. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay. All right, and put a second one in here, right? 123 Main Street, Buffalo, New York, 14222, whatever. And then if we go to the next customer, put an address in here for him or her, right? Blah, 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 blah. And go back to this one, and there's his addresses. And how does it know which customer belongs to this? Well, design view, if you look in the subform control object, there's two properties. There's link master fields and link child fields, and it's linked automatically by customer ID because it saw customer ID in the table under this form and the table under that form. And if your forms are based on queries, it might not make that relationship automatically. You might have to set it yourself. So keep that in mind. And I talk about that in a lot more detail in my subform video that you are supposed to have watched at this point. All right, now, how do I know which one of these is which? How do I know which of these addresses is billing, which is shipping, which is whatever? Well, we'll talk about that in part 2. So tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same bat channel. And if you remember, you can watch it right now because I'm going to record it in just a few minutes. But we got a lot more to cover. We're going to talk about the different types of addresses. All right, physical, billing, shipping. We're going to talk about setting up the many-to-many relationship, right, where addresses can be shared amongst different people. We'll talk about, how do I get all these addresses that I already have in my database into this new table without having to manually copy and paste them all. All right, we'll do some stuff. We'll do some work with some action queries. And then maybe we'll do some work with a nice little custom search form. All right, lots more to cover. This is going to be a multi-part series, so tune in for tomorrow to part 2. I don't know how many it's going to be. I got my outline listed, but I don't know what, how far I'm going to get in each one. So we'll see. We'll get there. But that is going to be your tech help video for today. I hope you learned something. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you tomorrow for part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and post any comments you may have below. I do try to read and answer all of them as soon as I can. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, which is completely free. Click the bell icon and select all to receive notifications when new videos are posted. Want to learn more? Click the Show More link below the video to find additional resources and links. YouTube does a pretty good job of hiding it. It's right down there. See this part of the description here, right? The name, the video's up here. There's a little Show More down there, right down the bottom. It's kind of hard to find. But once you click on that, you'll see a list of other videos, additional information related to the current topic, free lessons, and lots more. And YouTube no longer sends out email notifications when new videos are posted like they used to do. But if you'd like to get an email every time I post a new video, click on the link to join my mailing list. And you can pick how frequently to get emails from me, either as they happen, daily, weekly, or monthly. Now, if you'd like to become a paid member of my channel and receive all kinds of awesome perks, click on the Join button. You'll see a list of all the different membership levels that are available, each with its own special perks, including my extended cut videos, access to my code vault, lots of VBA source code in there, template downloads, and lots more. I'll talk more about these perks at the end of the video. Even if you don't want to commit to becoming a paid member and you'd like to help support my work, please feel free to click on the tip jar link. Your patronage is greatly appreciated and will help keep these free videos coming. I got some puppies to feed. But don't worry, no matter what, these free tech help videos are going to keep coming. As long as you keep watching them, I'll keep making more. and they'll always be free. Now, if you really want to learn Access and you haven't tried my free Access Level 1 course, check it out now. It covers all the basics of Microsoft Access, including building forms, queries, reports, and more. It's over 4 hours long. You can find it on my website or on my YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below you can click on. And did I mention it's completely free? The whole thing, free, 4 hours. Go watch it. And okay, a lot of you have told me that you don't have time to sit through a 4-hour course. So I do now have a quicker Microsoft Access for Beginners video that covers all the basics faster in about 30 minutes. And no, I didn't just put the video on fast forward. But I'll put a link to this down below as well. Now, if you like level 1, level 2 is just $1. That's it, $1. And that's another whole 90-minute course. Level 2 is also free for paid members of any level, including supporters. So if you're a member, go watch level 2. It's free. Okay, want to get your question answered in a video just like this one? Visit my tech help page and send me your question there. Members get priority, of course. While I do try to read and respond to all of the comments posted below in the comments section, I only have time to go through them briefly a couple of times a month, and sometimes I get thousands of them. So send me your question here on the tech help page, and you'll have a better chance of getting it answered. And while you're on my website, be sure to stop by my Access forum. We've got lots of lively conversations about Microsoft Access and other topics. I have a fantastic group of moderators who help me answer questions. Shout out to Alex, Kevin, Scott, Adam, John, Dan, Juan, and everybody else who helps out on the site. I appreciate everything you do. I couldn't do it without you. Be sure to follow my blog, find me on Twitter, and of course on YouTube. Yeah, I'm on Facebook too, but I don't like Facebook. Don't get me started. Now, let's talk more about those member perks if you do decide to join as a paid member. There are different levels: Silver, Gold, Platinum, and Diamond. Silver members and up get access to all of my extended cut tech help videos, one free beginner class every month, and some other perks. Gold members get all the previous perks, plus access to download the sample databases that I build in my tech help videos, plus access to my code vault where I keep tons of different functions that I use, the code that I build in most of the videos. You'll also get higher priority if you do submit any tech help questions. Now, answers are never guaranteed, but you do go higher in the list for me to read them. And if I like your question, you got a good chance of it being answered. You'll also get one free expert level class each month after you've finished the beginner series. Platinum members get all the previous perks plus even higher priority for tech help questions. You get access to all of my full beginner level courses for every subject. And I cover lots of different subjects like Word, Excel, VBA, ASP, lots of different stuff, not just Access. These are the full-length courses found on my website. You get all the beginner ones. In addition, once you finish the expert classes, you get one free developer class per month. So lots of training. And finally, you can also become a Diamond sponsor. You'll have your name or your company name listed on a sponsors page that will be shown on each video as long as you're a sponsor. You'll get a shout out in the video and a link to your website or product in the text below the video and on my website. So that's it. Once again, my name is Richard Rost. Thank you for watching this video brought to you by accesslearningzone.com. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you learned something today. Live long and prosper, my friends. I'll see you again soon.